I have fun what I do. And I try to create an environment where we have incredibly high expectations, but we have fun as well. And so I try to create an environment where people want to be there, because I think if they want to be there, I'm going to get their best work.
I mean, you're the president of Global Ice Cream.
Yeah.
Like, of course you're having fun. Like, if you're not having fun, what are you doing?
Well, as we say, we can't have fun. Nobody can have fun.
Anton, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
This is a series aiming to explore the strategies and elite mindsets of professionals, both in sports and in business, and trying to learn how, help our audience basically propel their careers onto the next level, whether that's the sports field or the boardroom, whatever it is. You are, I think your full title is Mars Wrigley, President of North America and Global Ice Cream.
Yes.
Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
I don't care whose definition of success you're using. President of Global Ice Cream is pretty phenomenal.
That's pretty cool. Yeah.
Your kids must have been delighted when you told them you were going to be President of Global Ice Cream. But what is your proudest achievement in your career?
Yeah, I think I got a couple of proud achievements in my career. I think first of all, it's just being able to have a sustainable career and to do, I would consider, pretty cool things over the arc of time. I think that's first and foremost. I think the second piece is being able to do that and still have a very engaging family life. My wife and I have been married for 25 years. We have 3 great kids, and I like to think that I'm a pretty significant part of their lives. And so being able to execute my profession at a high level for a long time and still being present, I consider those things very successful for me. And so I think those are things that I can look back on and feel proud about.
You've sustained a very long career over a long time. Was there ever a particular point where you thought, or you ever considered yourself, that is a success, or I'm so proud of that moment?
Yeah. Well, I think it's interesting when I think about that question. It's more of a conceptual piece for me. I think at some point in my career, I recognize the impact that my decisions have on people, both on the people that I lead and the organizations I lead. But because I have a consumer-facing business, the decisions I make and my team make, they impact millions of people all around the world. And so I think when you sort of think about that responsibility of leadership and understanding around, wow, how am I successful in making sure that I'm making great decisions and I'm making them for the right reasons, and I'm making them hopefully so that my company and our marketplace strategies can be successful. I think when I really understood sort of the awesomeness of that, I said, okay, wow, all right, maybe what I'm doing is having some significance and therefore I feel successful about it.
What are the key non-negotiable behaviors that you use in your everyday life to reach your goals and ensure that you keep making the right decisions for you and those around you?
Yeah, I think I have a few simple ones. I think the first thing is that my foundation is about high accountability, high individual accountability. That's very fundamental to me. I'm an athlete, sort of, in my lifetime. I played all through college sports. And the first thing you learn as an athlete is you do your job. You do your job. Everybody does their job. We do it collectively with the right plan and the right strategy. We put ourselves in a position to win. So high accountability, I think, is first. I think secondly is just having high curiosity. The world is changing at a certain pace now. Our minds can't really keep up with it. And so I don't think you can be successful over time unless you have an innate curiosity, I think, from that perspective as well. And I think the third thing is just learn from failure. And while people talk about how successful they've been, they've really learned from failure. I know I have. And I look to learn from my failure. I look to really understand what went wrong, what was my contribution to it, what was the contextual situation as well. And so I think putting those 3 things in place for me have helped me to understand my leadership better. It's helped me to execute it better. I think it's helped me to be successful in different situations.
And that's the key one, I think, learning from failure. And, that comes up a lot with the people that I speak to.
Yeah.
How do you cope with mistakes and how do you deal with those mistakes?
Yeah. Well, I would say it has changed. I would say when I was a younger leader, I would get very frustrated because I didn't want it to happen. Obviously, we set a plan and a strategy and we expect the sector to be successful. I think as I've gotten to be an older leader, I really try to make sure, again, that I just learn from it. You recognize you're not going to win all the time. You recognize that maybe your effort is not right, your strategy is not right, maybe even your plan is not right. So I always look for, again, back to the accountability piece. Where did I go wrong? Where did the team go wrong? Where did the organization go wrong? And now what do we learn so that we minimize the risk of going wrong in the future? So I really look at failure as a tremendous learning opportunity. But I had to evolve to that. I wasn't always that prescient to sort of say, oh, we failed, let's learn, let's keep going on. But I think it's fundamental, really, because in certain endeavors, particularly innovation, for instance, you're failing more than you're winning by a pretty large slot. That doesn't mean you stop doing it. It doesn't mean you don't still have an innovation appetite because it's necessary for the future. So that's critical. And not only for me as a leader, but how do you get that ideology inside of an entire organization because I need them pushing the envelope most of the time.
Do you use any key habits or rituals or anchors, some people call them, in your day-to-day life to help set you up?
I'm an early riser. I always have been. I'm
5 a.m.?
4:35.
Yeah? Okay.
Yeah. I also go to bed early, so people know that I have a cutoff time.
What's your cutoff time?
8 o'clock.
Whoa.
Yeah.
That's early.
Not sleeping, but I don't want to be out after 8 o'clock.
Okay.
So I try to have early dinners and all that kind of stuff. But I think for me is that I know that I have an intellectual need to absorb information and process information. So what I try to do is to sort of get my intellectual needs met first. Otherwise I'll be thinking about it and so on and so forth. Because like most leaders, once my day starts, it's not my day anymore. It's my calendar's day, and I'm off to the races. So I try to make sure the things that I think that drive me, that help feed my curiosity are fed first. And so, I wake up, I read, I do all the things I need to do. And it's not always about my business or the category's business or the industry, but it's feeding all those things around me. So I think that's pretty important. My goal is to be physical in the morning. I'm somewhat consistent with that as well. And so I try to take care of my needs first, the intellectual needs and physical needs. So when I hit my environment, I'm ready to go. I am 100% locked into what I'm doing, and I'm available to my team, internally, externally, what have you. And so I think this helps me have purpose to my day. It helps me to have a bit of a symmetry to my day as well. And whatever comes my way, I feel like I can handle it.
So you're an exercise in the morning kind of guy?
Yes. Because if it doesn't happen in the morning, it's not going to happen.
You've been president of Mars Wrigley for just over 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
You had 15 years at General Mills.
Yeah.
You've obviously encountered a lot of great leaders and a lot of top executives in your time.
Yeah.
What is the best advice that you think that you've come across during your career?
Well, first of all, I've had the opportunity to have some great mentors in my life as well. Always going back to my high school coach, a legendary high school coach, who I think the one thing he helped me to understand is how to execute under pressure. And he, if there wasn't pressure, he would create the pressure. So by the time we got to a game, we knew how to handle it psychologically, we knew how to handle it physically. I try to take some of that into it as well. I think the second piece of advice I've gotten is just don't put too much pressure on yourself, because things happen. A lot of things that happen are not in your control. One of the things as leaders, the trap we fall into is that we assume that we control everything, and that is mostly not the case. And so just taking some of that pressure off. And the third thing is just making sure you have context to every situation that you're in. Every situation is different. Every situation, yes, may have some foundational principles in terms of how you manage through it, but it's all context. Whether it's in a geography, whether it's in a market, whether it's in a brand, there's just different contexts as well. And so just making sure your situational leadership is at a high level. That's really, really important. And I think the last thing is just learn from your mistakes, because you will make them. You will continue to make them. But the key is not making a mistake, is what did you learn from it and how do you apply it moving forward? And if you've been in anything for any length of time, hopefully you know that, but the practice of learning and to applying and those types of things really have helped me for sure. So, but I would say I evolved for that. When I first became a leader, I didn't have all that wisdom. But people have so much access to information and insight these days. You don't have to wait till you're deep into your career to have some of that wisdom come your way and then try to activate it and practice it. I say the last thing is talk to people. I think some of my greatest learnings are talking to people, whether it's colleagues, whether it's older mentors, whether it's younger people as well. I get insight from every conversation that I have with a person. I feel like I can learn from anybody, and that's been helpful. So I've been open to that curiosity, however it comes at me. I just try to embrace it. I try to look for it, and then just learning that, I try to apply it.
It's interesting that you mentioned your high school coach had one of the most formative impacts on you, and considering the career that you've had, and that's crucial, and that shows you can get it from anywhere at any point in your career.
Right.
No matter who it is or no matter how young you are, there can always be someone who can offer you that or set you up for the rest of your life.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Yeah. But the key to it is just you gotta be able to look for the learning.
What are the most important attributes do you think that leaders have that you've experienced your career, like a theme that runs through them all?
Yeah, I think a thing that runs through them all is, and I've come to this one somewhat lately. I think I have practiced it, but just appreciating it more. It's just focus. Focus is critical because, as you start to grow as a leader, everybody has an opinion around what you should do, how you should do it, what your strategy should be as well. But you got to be able to incorporate the information that you're getting that you should get. But then you got to be able to have a core and then be able to really sort of synthesize that into action. And so I think that idea around focus is just Absolutely critical. I think if I talk to 10 leaders, some form of focus is going to sort of show up in that advice that they've given to me over the years. I think the second thing is just to trust yourself as well. You're going to come into a lot of situations, a lot of dynamics.
Confidence, you mean?
Yeah, trust and confidence. Mm-hmm. But trust builds confidence. I think if you trust your how you process information and how you execute information, how you set up the organization, I think that builds confidence over time. But sometimes, I've found leaders that are just searching for an answer and not really having a core. So I think that trust element for yourself, for how you process and how you execute, I think is just very important.
When you were coming up, there may not have been that many role models that you could look to. Who were the people that you could look to, and who were the people that have inspired you on your journey?
Yeah, so I'll start from the beginning. I think my parents were fantastic. I think I had some of the best parents in the world. They were educators. They were in the classroom when I was growing up as well. And so I think I saw people who invested so much in other people for their success. And so I thought that was a beautiful thing for us. I thought they taught us some pretty basic values around working hard and treating people right, and just having a limitless mindset around what you're capable of doing. I think it was very important. And the second thing is just my high school coach, legendary person, put about 12 players in the NBA as well. And just his idea around how he prepared us for victory, both physically and psychologically, and using sports as a metaphor for life. Some of the things I still go back to, I think to this day, I think are pretty important. And then I think for me, I had a lot of heroes growing up, but the one that sticks in my mind today is just Muhammad Ali. Not so much for his boxing capability and all the things he did in the ring, but sort of what he represented outside the ring and how he carried that throughout most of his life. I thought was incredible. Especially as an African American, you see someone that has confidence. You have somebody that has incredible athletic capability, who is working hard, but still has a broad worldview and is really and truly trying to help people as well. So I thought I saw somebody that had multiple dimensions that went beyond sport.
Looking back to young Anton, when you're first starting out, what do you wish you could tell him that you know now?
Yeah, I would tell him so many things. I think the first thing is just slow down. I don't think I was unlike most people my ages. I always wanted to get to the next thing fast, and I had a timeline in my head and it had to be at this time. So it's just slow down, like a little bit like let the game come to you versus chasing it. I wouldn't do it differently again, because I think that was my motivation, that was my energy, and it pushed me to do what I needed to do. But it took a lot of emotional energy and a lot of psychological energy. So I would just sort of say slow down. I think the second thing, I talk about this a lot, is just having a better relationship with feedback. When I first started getting feedback early in my corporate career, I took it personally. I didn't take it as developmental conversation. I took it as, oh, you don't like me, you don't like what I was doing. But man, it really is powerful. I think when someone invests and helps you to understand how you can do better, be better, it's a beautiful thing. And if you act on it in the right way, it actually elevates you. So I think that's what I would tell myself. Just take the feedback a little bit more broadly. And making sure that you're getting the development message, and not that we don't like you message. I took it very personally, I would say. I say the third thing is just, I wish I would have spent more time in learning as a youngster around what made me special. I felt I had confidence, I felt I had skills, I felt I had capabilities, but I didn't really understand it in a way that I think I understand it now. And so I think just making sure you're spending time with yourself, investigating yourself, understanding why you do what turns you on, why you do what you do, I think it's pretty special. Once I started to do that later in my career, I started having more of appreciation around me, and I started to make sure that I was really trying to spend time with those things that was going to leverage my capabilities. So I think that's pretty cool to understand that and have that self-awareness at a younger age.
And speaking of self-awareness and what you know now, what do you think matters less than you thought it did?
That is a really good question. I think what matters less is, I would say, definitions of success. I would say I had a very classical definition of success as a younger person, which was probably more things, things and titles, and more. I think now it's just impact. My understanding of what success means, like, how do I impact people, individuals, organizations, broader swaths of communities, particularly where we serve and where we have businesses, is pretty important for me, because success now is a long-term impact. It's not something that is acquisition oriented, getting this thing, getting that thing. So I think that's how my success definition has evolved over time. That's where I try to spend my mental time and making sure I'm having maximum impact in people and communities who we serve.
Lastly, if you had to make one decision today that would have the most positive impact on your life going forward, What do you think that could be?
Well, if I had to make one decision, I think today is taking care of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of leaders spend so much time in doing the thing and executing the thing and achieving the thing, they really forget about the foundation that allows the thing to happen, which is yourself, which is taking care of yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, because this is a long game. It's a truly long game. And I can't be successful at the game if I'm not at the top of my game physically, spiritually, and mentally as well. And so I think it's just making sure we focus on that, putting the right kind of attention to it, being consistent about it, I think is pretty important, because that is the foundation for everything else that sort of jumps off of it as well.